At the end of the 1800s, a new art form flickered into life. It looked like our dreams. Movies are a multi-billion-dollar global entertainment industry now. But what drives them isn't box office or showbiz. It's passion, innovation. So let's travel the world to find this innovation for ourselves. We'll discover it in this man, Stanley Donen, who made Singing in the Rain, and in Jane Campion in Australia, and in the films of Kyoko Kagawa, who was in perhaps the greatest movie ever made, and in Amitabh Bachchan, the most famous actor in the world, and in the movies of Martin Scorsese and Spike Lee, Lars von Trier and Akira Kurosawa. Welcome to the story of film, an odyssey, an epic tale of innovation across 12 decades, 6 continents, and 1,000 films. In this chapter, Fahrenheit 9/11 takes the temperature of the real world, and a movie called Mulholland Drive plays with our dreams. The 21st century came, and movies filmed it. Nature still looked lovely. Cities looked even newer. Lots happened in innovative cinema in recent years. One of the most surprising things was that editing lessened. Slow cinema came to the fore. But deep down, 21st century movies have been about what movies started out to be about, the clash between reality and dreaming. This is the story of that clash. The story starts way back here with Laurel and Hardy. They're pulling a piano in the Swiss Alps, a studio set and painted backdrop. We know something will go wrong. It always does. But what? What'll happen next? That's the question the filmmakers asked and will always ask. They wrecked their brains. In those days, there was a guy on the set called the Wildie, the wild man, often drunk, whose job was to come up with bizarre ideas. In this case, the Wildie suggested that they should meet a gorilla. And here it comes. Silly but funny.
Everything's okay. From now on, it's going to be easy sailing.
The wild man had innovated. The gorilla was his innovation. The story of film is the story of innovation, the story of the gorilla. So since the new millennium, what's been new in cinema? What's come at it? What's been the gorilla? At first, it looks like there hasn't been a gorilla, that it's been business as usual. The movie started with this documentary in 1895, workers leaving a factory, filmed square on. But the big movie story of the new millennium was that the reality came back. At first, in the form of documentaries, which were suddenly big box office. The first time in the whole story of film that non-fiction cinema held its own on the big screen. This happened in part because of what used to stand here. When the Twin Towers fell, history got bigger. The camcorder footage of 9/11 out-Hollywooded Hollywood, image-wise. Fiction cinema looked a bit old hat in comparison, and reality was more dramatic than escapism. This film, Fahrenheit 9/11, was one of the biggest box office hits in the history of documentary.
When informed of the first plane hitting the
It told a story about two families called Bush and Saud. President Bush was being filmed as he heard about the attacks on the Twin Towers. All director Michael Moore had to do was show the footage, add a commentary and a clock in the corner of the screen to make 2004's most memorable movie moment about power and indecision.
When the second plane hit the tower, his chief of staff entered the classroom and told Mr. Bush, "The nation is under attack." Not knowing what to do, with no one telling him what to do, and no Secret Service rushing in to take him to safety, Mr. Bush just sat there and continued to read My Pet Goat with the children. Nearly 7 minutes passed with nobody doing anything. As Bush sat in that Florida classroom, was he wondering if maybe he should have shown up to work more often?
Fahrenheit 9/11 took over $250 million at the box office. Something remarkable was happening in the story of film, because that's as much as this fiction entertainment film, The Bourne Supremacy, released the same year. But look at The Bourne Supremacy, and you notice how like a documentary it's trying to be. Its director came from documentary. These shots could have been much steadier, glossier, but rough documentary imagery had become exciting and new in the 21st century. So fiction films hitched a ride on it. Documentaries held the screen for some years. This film, Etre Avoir, which came a bit before Fahrenheit 9/11, was a classic, observational, character-based. It's the end of the year in a rural school. The teacher, Mr. Lopez, is retiring. It's the last time he'll see the kids. The camera's at the child's height, then tilts up to capture his sadness. Where heroes in fiction cinema often have to strike out and fight the world, Mr. Lopez just stands there. And yet he was one of the most vivid human beings on screen in 2002. And Douglas Gordon's and Philippe Pareno's Zidane, A Portrait in the 21st Century, also a documentary, was one of the most innovative films of its time. It used extra long lenses to film a football match, but it didn't follow the story of the match so much as one hypnotic, roving presence within it. The presence, footballer Zinedine Zidane, became almost mythic. You heard his breathing and his thoughts were subtitled, even though he didn't speak. At times, he's so isolated and blown up that, as in an Antonioni film, he almost dispersed, like a pointillist impressionist painting.
He had 2 incompletely healed bullet holes in his chest and another in his thigh.
But it wasn't only in documentaries that reality bounced back in the new millennium. Look at this film, The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. Look at its photography, sepia, shallow focus. No attempt to sex up the image or make it look 21st century or computery. The defocusing of the edge of the image was done in part by computer.
Sounds were amplified.
But if the way this famous face is photographed reminds us of anything, it's the delicate photorealism of a face like this. Lillian Gish, Softly Lit. Talk about coming full circle. And where was all this post-9/11 realism heading? In the direction of an intimate scene like this. It's in Climates, one of the most innovative fiction films of the 21st century. We're in Turkey now, and a new master director, Nuri Bilge has had Climates shot digitally. A hotel room, a wife in close-up, a drip of water on the soundtrack. We cut to her older husband, director Ceylan himself. Shallow focus and his face half obscured. Sad eyes, then a similar framing. Each plane of focus so carefully chosen. Then this focus pull and the pores on his forehead. No dialogue or music. Then this shot. Where's the focus here? The hand shows us, up close. The camera's now lower than the bed, and mysterious focus again. The search for it makes us feel as if we're on the bed, in the head of this sad marriage. We think of Ingmar Bergman's sad films about marriage. And then a naked light, like a scene in an Italian neorealist picture. And then it's over, whatever it was, sex, the greatest use of focus in cinema, realist time stood still. The gorilla, the sparky new idea in 21st century movies, was a very old idea, that real people still matter, that tender realism is beautiful. This honesty flowed from Turkey to Romania, where great new honest pictures like this one emerged. Welcome to new Romanian cinema.
Așa mi-a spus domnul doctor Breslașul de la universitar. Și uitați că are și o hemipareză pe partea dreaptă.
Incredibil, nu? Eu am crezut că domnișoara doctor exagerează, dar văd că nu. Chiar nu ne respectați deloc.
Îmi pare rău, dar eu tocmai asta am spus, că trebuie să ne grăbim cu el, suntem pe drum cu el de la 10.
This is Mr. Lazarescu. We've followed him all night, from hospital to hospital, which have all been full because of a bus accident. We've watched him get worse and worse. Now he's dying.
Cadre medicale de calificări diferite, doamna asistentă.
The woman in orange is a paramedic who's helped him all night. Director Christy Pugh said that he wanted to use camera work like the TV series ER. Handheld, shooting in the round, dowdy greenish fluorescent lighting. He used these techniques to show a long night's journey into day and death and the human decency of the paramedic. The death of Mr. Lazarescu was one of the most moving works of film realism of the new century. It passionately showed that we're all in this scary new century together.
Trebuie să operăm hematomul ăsta, dar pentru asta am nevoie de semnătura dumneavoastră, că sunteți de acord și că vă asumați toate riscurile care decurg din această operație.
Argentina's films in the new millennium boldly confronted reality too. This is The Headless Woman by Lucrecia Martel. Veronica is a well-to-do dentist. Her phone goes. Bam! She's hit something. Usually car accidents in movies are done with fast editing. Here, there's none. Veronica's been crying, light rock music as counterpoint. She tries to calm down. Static camera, shallow focus. Then she drives on. We see what she hit. A tense, tragic, mysterious moment that gives the film its tone. Then she stops. She's probably concussed. And as we see in the rest of the film, she keeps secrets from her family and from herself. You'd think the camera would go with her, but it stays here. Thunder, then rain. Then she's out of focus, headless. A woman who's lost her head. Veronica's isolation is brilliantly shown in this haunting, on-glossy movie, one of the best ever made in South America. And in Mexico in the 21st century, cinema was brilliantly honest about human beings too. And if the realism of the new millennium wasn't rich enough, Korean cinema suddenly darkened it and gave it a strange brutality. The result was called New Korean cinema. There'd been good Korean movies since the 1920s and a golden age in the 60s. But in the year 2003 alone, 3 Bong Joon-ho's Memories of Murder. The film's set in the late 80s. A serial killer has murdered 10 Korean women. A true story that scandalized the country. This policeman's been trying to find the killer. He stopped his car and goes to look one last time at the gully where one of the victims was found. Flat, deserted, yellow land, like the crop dusting scene in Hitchcock's North by Northwest. POV camera approaching the dark space. Somehow we think of David Lynch films. The tunnel seems haunted by the memory of the murder.
그 안에 뭐 있어요?
And then this, a
거기에
girl,
뭐 있냐고요?
but she reveals that she's probably seen the murderer.
근데 왜 봐요?
그냥 좀 봤다.
되게 신기하다.
뭐가?
얼마 전에도 어떤 아저씨가 여기서 이 구멍 속 들여다보고 있었는데. 그 아저씨한테도 물어봤었거든요. 왜 여기 들여다보냐고.
그랬더니?
뭐랬더라? 맞아. 옛날에 여기서 자기가 했던 일이 생각나서 진짜 오랜만에 한번 와봤다. 그랬는데?
A conversation, simply shot.
그 아저씨 얼굴 봤어? 어떻게 생겼어?
그냥 뻔한 얼굴인데?
어떻게?
그냥 평범해요.
All through the film, the detective has been hoping for such a breakthrough. Now that it happens, it's so ordinary. A stare into camera. Maybe the murderer is us. More transgressive still was this new Korean film, Old Boy.
네.
We're in a dark, stylized world. This man was locked up for 15 years and not told why. Now he's out and angry, almost comically angry. He wants revenge. The film was based on a Japanese manga cartoon book, and it shows. The man has found the place where he was imprisoned. He's going to bash the security guard with a hammer, and as in a cartoon, he sees the hammer's trajectory. Once he's in the prison, we get this remarkable stylized fight scene. We're in a prison corridor. The wall nearest us has been taken away, a bit like one of those wildlife programs in which we see moles in their burrows underground. The shot is far back and makes the scene look like a cell in a cartoon. Our man fights 14 other men, almost comic odds. The camera keeps its distance on a dolly, not handheld in the fight. This isn't the realism of the early movies of the Lumiere brothers. New Korean cinema in the year 2003 was also doing something like the opposite to realism. Stylized, dreamlike, magical almost, like this film. George Méliès's The Moon at 1 meter, one of the first science fiction films. Theatrical, wearing its dreaminess on its sleeve. Movies in the new millennium were dreamlike as well as realistic. The Gorilla, the innovation in 21st century cinema, was dreamlike as well as naturalistic. Film history coming full circle again. In the most famous American movie about a dream, The Wizard of Oz, a girl goes over a rainbow, meets people from her real life, clicks her ruby slippers together, and discovers that there's no place like home. The best dream film of the new millennium, Mulholland Drive, is as if someone dreamed The Wizard of Oz dream. It's about a girl who wants to climb the hill of movie stardom, Mulholland Drive, where all the movie stars live. But instead falls asleep and dives down into her own consciousness. Down in that consciousness, we hear of this dance in Ontario. When she was a girl, her moment of innocence, people jitterbug, shot against purple. Their own shadows create moving digital windows through which we see more layers. This is the girl, luminous and smiling. But then the girl grows up, falls in love with another girl, and then gets so jealous of her that she asks this hitman to kill her. Director David Lynch has the scene filmed conventionally, shot reverse shot, almost natural light, medium close-ups, in a cafe called Winky's. But out of the corner of her eye, the girl sees this man. He looks at her as she arranges the murder. Bang! It's like he sees her commit the crime, the thought crime. And so, in her long dream, we see him, not her, confronting something awful behind a wall at the back of Winky's. Handheld camera, a roar on the soundtrack, a shock so great that everything goes silent. The monster seems to be her terror at planning the killing. She doesn't dream of herself confronting it, but of the man who looked at her doing so. And this place, Club Silencio, also in Diane's subconscious, is like Oz and the Wizard of Oz. Diane's dream comes to a climax here. She shakes because her subconscious is flooding. A wizard conjures blue lights, disappears. Light like we're underwater. Mulholland Drive was so innovative because it was the Wizard of Oz plunged into the black night of film noir and the rabbit hole of David Lynch's brain. And then in the new millennium, there was an astonishing dream film of sorts, Requiem for a Dream.
Anybody want to waste some time?
It looked with piteous recognition at people on drugs.
Angel says that this is the time we should do it now. Shit, I'm gonna call Brody tomorrow.
Who's Brody?
That's my sweet connection. He's got some unbelievable shit. Shh, right.
It was the great distortion movie about how drugs distort the world, speed it up, give it a fisheye lens.
Shit, man. Then we get us a pound of pure and retire. And you know what that means. No more hassle. Get off Hard Knocks and be on Easy Street.
What's the catch?
Here's the catch. This woman wanted to be on TV, so took far too many weight reduction pills. Now she's scared by her own apartment. It flickers, floats around her like a gyroscope. Darren Aronofsky's film was a paranoid dream in a fearful century. So if the story of film in the new millennium has been the story of realist films and dream films, that story is as old as movies itself. There's nothing new there. But in the new millennium, film also combined reality and fantasy in new ways. The line between them blurred. They got closer to each other. Look what we find here in Stockholm. The unique films of this man, Roy Andersson, combined reality and dream in a new way that few have ever done in the story of film.
You know, I was grown up in a worker family, and I grew up with that impressions that people really humiliated each other and themselves also.
In Anderson's film, Songs from the Second Floor, this man in the middle, covered in ashes, has burnt down his business, a serious social theme, and the colour in the shot is a drab green. But suddenly the movie becomes heightened, like a musical fantasy.
unhappiness. It's not only a result of poorness without money. It's also a result of what is wisdom in life. Is it money or how to be happy, so to say? And I think that nowadays and the last 30 years, people they are lost. They are lost.
In the extraordinary ending of Songs from the Second Floor, symbols of religion are being dumped into a wasteland beyond the city.
We built the road of wood and we put in trompe-l'oeil pieces to the right, so you get the impression that there is a huge modern city there.
It's like the end of the world. And then, minutes into the uncut shot, people who have been there the whole time stand up from the land, like the Day of Judgment.
It's a theme that I'm very, very interested in, namely the question of guilt, personal guilt and even collective guilt. We are carrying a guilt, a collective guilt, as representatives of the human being, of mankind. We are responsible, and we have to get that feeling of guilt. We have to get it reconciliated, to get rid of it. And I think it's infected. It infects the society. It infects our time. And I have that theme in the Songs from the Second Floor.
And Anderson found a striking visual style to show the humiliation, guilt and comedy of modern life. He muted colour, favouring greys and greens. He loved plunging perspectives and flat Nordic light, a bleak dream. And his camera seldom moves.
I really don't want a single frame in my movie that is indifferent, visually indifferent. And I mean that the modern way of filmmaking contains a lot of indifferent frames, because they are built up to concentrate on a very special situation, most of the time killing or many stupid situations. Why can't movie has the same qualities as painting? So you are fascinated by each single frame.
But what makes Anderson so significant for modern cinema is that he combines this exactitude with a real sense of humour. He's a fan of Laurel and Hardy. The simplicity of the way this scene is shot, for example, square on, symmetrical.
They are so tragic and so funny at the same time. And it's two losers. They want to be accepted by the middle class or upper class. And they try so hard to get that, to come to this, to be accepted. But they fail all the time, all the time. It's not only simple jokes, it's also social tragedy, political tragedy. It's the underdogs' efforts to be accepted, to reach a higher level in society.
Anderson gets the guerrilla, the innovation. He partially funds his films himself, a one-man movie studio, a one-man film history. No one has quite combined reality and dream like this before.
And isn't it in the theater?
21st century cinema built on the past, combining worlds. In the 60s, we saw how Stanley Donen, director of Singing in the Rain, used this split screen to get around censorship by making it look like two lovers are in bed together. He filmed with two cameras at the same time and combined the shots.
I have decided to do it.
Jump forward to the new millennium, to this scene in Roger Avery's The Rules of Attraction. Saturday morning on an American campus. We've just watched, for several minutes, these two students get up and go to class. Like Donen, Avery uses split screen, but has his characters look to camera, to us, rather than to each other.
Typical. Never seen you there before.
We feel in the middle of this flirtatious moment.
Yeah, you've got bad timing.
Saturdays suck ass. I don't have to put up with this shit. I'm dropping this fucking class.
Yeah, me too.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I think I'm gonna change my mind.
But then she says, "Show me your eyes," and a hand takes his glasses off.
Show me your eyes.
And it's not his hand. Then the cameras each pull out and swing round, and the two worlds combine. We go from inside the moment to an outside observer. Each camera's move was computer programmed, and the two images were digitally stitched together. Movies have always tried to make people meet in memorable ways. Few meetings are as memorable as this one. And in this film, Avatar, computers also helped create new 21st century syntheses of reality and fantasy. In real life, this character's a Marine who, because he's in a wheelchair, can't walk or run. But here he's on a mission to the planet Pandora and has been transformed into an attenuated creature who enjoys the sprint, moves like a dancer.
Sorry. Watch it!
Canadian director James Cameron has his camera flow, the creature move. He feels the soil between his toes.
Hey, Marine!
Grace?
Well, who'd you expect, numbnuts? Think fast.
Everything about this scene was animated in computers, as you'd expect, except the most important thing, the facial expressions. This energetic documentary shows that the faces were filmed with mini cameras. The set of a modern sci-fi film looks like a factory. Bright lights, computers, no hint of an enchanted planet. Director James Cameron is excited by the process.
There's a carbon fiber boom that comes out with a little camera on the front of it. And that camera shoots the face in a nulled out close-up. So even though the actor's moving all around, running, jumping, yelling, screaming, jumping off stuff, jumping over logs, running flat out, whatever, we're getting that facial performance absolutely locked off.
This split screen in the documentary shows the after and before.
And that proved to exactly be the kind of holy grail approach.
21st century cinema managed to insert the mystery of human feeling into a digital and electronic universe. But far away from Hollywood, in Thailand in the new millennium, Apichatpong Versathakel did something even more inventive. Look at this scene from Tropical Malady. A Thai soldier, Keng, and his farmer friend, Dong, two shy young men in Thailand, filmed in natural light, in long takes, in the languor of summer days.
บอกว่าถ้าเส้นสองเส้นชนกันแล้วเนี่ยเหมือนเรือสุพรรณหงส์เนี่ยเขาบอกว่าไปด้วยกันได้ มันไม่ใช่เรือสุพรรณหงส์อันนี้มันเรือพายเอาไปลอยน้ำไป
A backdrop so still that it looks almost painted. Then, about halfway through the film, it seems to break down. There's black, and then the story starts again. This time we're in a forest, a soundtrack full of the night chorus of insects, frogs, and cicadas. This time Soldier Keng's lit by moonlight. He sees a tree full of fireflies. It's like the Eiffel Tower lit up. We hear that his friend, Dong, has become a tiger. He must hunt him. Director Versa Thackle films the spirit of a water buffalo leaving its own body. King's breathless, agog, seeing life and death and the Gaia. The spirit takes him into the forest. Not only has the farmer been reincarnated as a tiger, but the film seems to have been reincarnated. From a naturalistic tale of friendship to a mythic tale of hunter and hunted. Seldom in the whole history of cinema has such a bold story shift happened. The wild man, the gorilla. Our last examples of wildly inventive cinema in the new millennium come from this man, Alexander Sokurov. This is his film Mother and Son. We're in a Russian cottage in the countryside. A mother's dying. Her son tends her. She's happy to die in her son's arms. The pearly light is in the trees outside. They whisper to each other, utter peace. Sokurov explains his approach.
В истории мы рассказываем о том, как это было, а в искусстве мы говорим о том, как могло бы быть или как должно быть. Никогда нет такой большой всеобъемлющей любви между людьми. Нет ее в жизни, нет. Но искусство говорит, что а вот могло бы быть.
Смотри, как сад зацвел.
Mother and Son is one of the defining movies in what would come to be called slow cinema. Director Sokurov's imagery is as beautiful as his teachers, Andrei Tarkovsky's, but also derives from painting.
Так я искал этого живописи близкого такого человека и для фильма «Матисон». И я нашел, что культура немецких художников, романтиков XIX века самая близкая к моему замыслу. И возникло имя любимого мною художника Каспара Давида Фридерикса. И у него же я нашел тот колорит, который мне нужен был для этого фильма. Мягкие цвета, чуть размытые, почти акварель. И мы даже снимали части эпизодов, мы снимали даже в тех местах, где он рисовал картины. Приезжали на те места в Германии, где он рисовал, искали ту точку, где стоял он, когда он рисовал пейзажи, и там именно снимали. У художника всегда длинная дорога. И режиссерам в кино нужно все успеть быстро. Но быстро не получается. Быстро — это только быстро. И все. Быстро — это только быстро, и все. Больше ничего. За этим нет никакого... Это ничто.
And in shots like this, Sokurov had the image stretched diagonally, as if it was made of rubber, to change how we see it.
Ну, это психологический такой элемент. Это элемент переживательный, что ли, эмоциональный. Когда возникает некая сложность вот в изображении, у зрителя возникает некоторое волнение. Что это означает? Как бы зритель ищет ответ на вопрос, что это означает. И для того, чтобы понять, что это означает, зритель начинает смотреть внимательнее изображение. Как бы придвигается ближе к нему. А мне только этого и надо.
Many critics felt that Mother and Son was one of the best films of its time. But then Sokurov made this film, perhaps the most inventive ever made, the greatest guerrilla in film history. We're in the Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg at the end of the 19th century. These Tsarist aristocrats have been partying all night, and now they're flowing down the steps like a river. But the revolution's coming. This will be the last of the great balls. Soon they will be dead.
Когда люди уходят, они идут вот сейчас, ощущение такое, что они уйдут за кадр, да, а там будут стоять, значит, добрые молодцы и сечь им головы, понимаете, одного за других просто вот, неизбежно. Они идут как в мясорубку, как на смерть. Жертвы социальных потрясений, социальных революций в России настолько чудовищны, десятки миллионов, да, что не сокрушаться по этому поводу нельзя. Это символ истребления людей, вот просто истребление одних людей другими, истребление. Это не Голгофа. В смерти этих людей нет ничего возвышенного, нет ничего благородного, нет никакой жертвенности даже. Они просто были уничтожены. Они просто были отвратительно, гнусно, отвратительно уничтожены. И вот это как бы вызывает особую боль.
Sokurov saw the film as a single last breath of this civilization, and so, astonishingly, he filmed the whole movie in a single take. There hasn't been one cut in the whole film. This shot has travelled 1,300 metres through 33 galleries, filming 867 people. Cavaliers, museum officials, spies, great balls, and portents of the horrors to come, over 90 minutes. Sokurov and his team rehearsed for 6 months. Filming took place on the 23rd of December, when there are only 4 hours of daylight. This allowed for just 2 takes. Take 1 had to be abandoned after 5 minutes. Then take 2. This one unfolds. Unbelievable tension. The Steadicam's so heavy that the operator almost buckles at the knees in pain. Here's documentary footage of the moment the filming's finished.
Пропишем еще, да? Стоп, телефон.
Сейчас 27.
Все. Все. Спасибо. Спасибо вам. Спасибо. 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 Все. Окей. Нет, все.
Спасибо всем. Съемка окончена. Да, Александр Николаевич?
Да.
Their breaths show how freezing it was. The handheld camera captures the relief. Tears of joy that something entirely new in the story of film had taken place. TV cameras to capture this moment. The camera mills around with the people, moved, tired, exhilarated.
Если угодно, это символ русского ада. И никакая цивилизация, никакая культура, никакое искусство не смогло остановить уничтожение людей, миллионов людей. Ни православная церковь, ни христианство, ни искусство, ни образование, ничто не могло остановить миллионы русских, которые уничтожали миллионы своих же соотечественников.
Sokurov is one of the most serious filmmakers of the 21st century and one of the most stylistically daring. He and filmmakers like him suggest that the future of cinema is in provocative hands. If the history of film's been the story of innovation, of passion, of breaking the mold, what's its future? Maestro De Angelis, here in the Roman film studio Cinecittà, made props for Fellini, but long after he's gone, will people still be breaking the movie mold? Maybe in the year 2046, movie-going will be like Christopher Nolan's film, Inception. It's an innovative sci-fi film about layers of reality, but maybe it's a metaphor too for what film-going could become. Look at this scene. Leonardo DiCaprio and his friends wake up in a plane. They've just been dreaming together. Camera glides, greens and blues, atmospheric beds of music. They're groggy, embarrassed almost at the intimacy of the dream they've just shared. They dreamt that they were in this van, falling ultra slowly off a bridge, shot at maybe 1,000 frames per second, no natural sound. But in it, they dream a dream within a dream, in which they're in a hotel whose gravity's on the blink. It's color-coded orange, the camera floats, the actors are on wires. And in that dream within a dream, they dream a fourth layer. They're in a James Bond style of battle in a snow lodge. Now the camera's handheld, the action's edgy, the sound natural, the dominant color's white. They live and die together. Maybe this is what movie-going is like in 2046, playing a game of living and dying together, plunging into an underwater YouTube. Or maybe something awful happens. Look at this scene in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Former lovers Joel and Clementine are running through Grand Central Station. People start to disappear because they're undergoing a brainwashing process where their memories of their relationship are being removed. Then the brainwashing becomes a nightmare. It's shot like a TV crime program. The camera's roving around with a light on it. Their past, their stories disappearing.
Everything you can remember.
Here's Riak! Wake me up!
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Barish. I thought you understood what was going on here.
No.
She no longer has a face.
You're erasing me from her. I don't know. You got this thing. I'm in my bed. I know it. My brain.
I'm part of your imagination too, Joel. How can I help you from there? I'm inside your head.
The eyes on another face are upside down.
Sorry. Who's that?
What if the same happened to film? Maybe there'll be some digital or ideological storm and cinema will be wiped or banned. and it'll be impossible to see it. Except in a hidden bunker or room like this, where all its treasures are kept in secret. If so, then those of us who love the movies will have to remember them, talk about them, tell the story of them. Of the people who made them, the places where they were made. The objects that appeared in them. Even the places where the great filmmakers sat and thought. Or maybe movies will take up a bigger part in our lives. This is what the city of Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso looked like in 2011. At the very center of the city is this huge monument to cinema. Maybe more cities will do this. Back in 2011, filmmakers from around the world gathered at this monument, held hands in the sweaty heat, and walked around it 3 times in tribute to the filmmakers who died in the previous year. And to the movies.
Well, that's all, folks. It's your last chance to win a year's free entry to Picture House Cinemas. Enter at channel4.com/story of film. Well, next, here on More 4, mankind's last hope lies with a desperate mission to reignite a dying star. Danny Boyle's Sunshine, next.